Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Cameron James here, and thank you for joining me today. So last time I made a video, it was on the Shadow Man novel, which I thought was a really good book. I had some disagreements with some people about that, but you know, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. So today I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on how my novels are going before getting into this bad boy. So currently I've read the first story involving it, and I'm currently reading the second one now. So I'm going to review the first one today, which is Mr Harrigans, and then I'm going to do the second one on my next video. So where my novel is currently is I've got my first novel in being edited right now. So in about 2 weeks time I'll have that back, and I'll probably do my next book review then. That way I can give you a proper update. I might even split it into 2 videos if I feel that's necessary. My second novel is coming to a close, I think. It's one of those things, you know, I don't want to force it to be too long, and I'm not going to stop until I think it's finished. So, but it's coming to a close. I've sort of written an early ending for it. Whether that ending sticks or not, I don't know yet, but hopefully it does, because I kind of like it. So Mr Harrigan's phone, sorry, I said it wrong before. Mr Harrigan's phone. Mr Harrigan was a sweet story, and I liked it because it was quite simple. And despite its simplicity, it didn't shy away from intricate subject matter. So it was basically about one boy and an older fella, and their relationship together, and then, you know, it moves off into the supernatural as time passes, but only kinda. It leaves you asking the question whether it's real or whether it's not real. I think leaning more toward it being real, and it's typical Stephen King, and it's done masterfully in my personal opinion. Now, if you pick up the story, I do have to let you know that at the beginning I did feel like it dragged on a little bit, you know, in the way where it felt like it was just a bunch of product placement, and you know, you got people sitting around drinking Sprites talking about subjects that I personally don't find intriguing, but maybe that's just me. Maybe if you picked it up, you might see it differently. The story ultimately saves itself, you know, pretty quickly. I'll be honest with you, it saves itself pretty quickly when you see the relationship between Craig, who is our main character, and Mr Harrigan, who's an 80-year-old man. So Craig being quite a young boy at the time, I think he was about 10 years old when he's sort of working for Mr Harrigan, reading him stories. And the relationship between the younger generation and the older generation it's really well done, I thought. You know, them having discussions about, you know, their times, how things have changed over the years, and how it deals with technology. I think one of my favorite parts of this story is how they deal with technology, because I'm a big fan of technology. I love smartphones and computers and, you know, all the stuff that like Elon Musk does. And I think that the story deals with that really well, even making mentions to some of the big tech companies like Apple and Amazon. There are parts of the story that do seem to get glossed over a little bit. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I like a lot of detail in my reading. I like to be able to see, smell and taste pretty much everything that I read. For the most part in this story, you do get that, but there are certain elements that sort of, you know, years fly by without you really seeing what happened. And it probably works well for the story. It's just a nitpick from my part. So back to technology again in the story. It plays a pivotal role in the book, right? The main thing I think that it is trying to tell you is how dependent we as humans have become on modern technologies, like back to smartphones again. Like, how many people have a smartphone, and if you misplace it, you feel lost. You know, it's an extension of who you are now, and I think the Mr Harrigan really delves into that, you know, in a fun way. You know, it's scary, but it's not overly scary where you know, you're going to put the book down and go hide under your bed or anything like that. So our main character, Craig, he grows up in front of our eyes. As I said before, a lot of it is skipped over. So in one moment he's a kid, then he turns into a teenager. He's hooking up with a girl for the first time, and you know, eventually he becomes a man. He becomes a man who actually got to do what he wanted with a little bit of help from Mr Harrigan. Quick warning, this could fall under spoiler territory, so if you don't want to have a spoiler, skip forward about 20 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever you want. Turn off the video if you please. But a big plot in this story is when Craig actually puts the iPhone that he'd bought for Mr. Harrigan earlier in the story into the coffin, into the pocket of Mr. Harrigan inside the coffin. And they sort of communicate now, despite the fact that Mr. Harrigan is gone, and obviously an iPhone can't hold a charge, you know, for too long, more than a few days. But they sort of have a contact, and he's able to... I'm not going to tell you how I think you can piece it together, but they contact each other. They contact each other through the phone, and it's a weird little thing, and it is kind of haunting when you read it, but it's not exactly what you might think it is. In other words, the story leaves you with more questions than answers. Don't take that as a bad thing, because I think leaving you with some intuition to piece something together is a good thing. Some of the best movies that I've ever seen, such as Joker, leave you with questions when you leave. And I think that's a good thing. So I give the story points just for that. So questions like, you're not 110% sure whether Mr. Harrigan is responsible for certain outcomes that happen after his death. I'd love actually, if somebody does read this after watching this review, please comment down below when you have a moment, because I actually would like to have a discussion whether you see it a little bit differently than I do, that you think maybe it's 100% or maybe it's all in his head, or what. Just, yeah, comment down below and let me know what you think. My only real complaint about this story is there's two main characters, or two important supporting characters with very similar names. I won't tell you the second name now, but one of them is Mr. Harrigan, sorry. I don't know why I always say Harrington. There's another character with a very similar name, and if you read it while you're tired or something like that, you could mistake the characters, especially if you're speed reading. So all in all, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. I loved it. I thought it was a beautiful story. It was definitely a page turner that I had trouble putting down, but it had its flaws, as everything does. So 8 out of 10. It was excellent. Definitely recommend you read it. So that about wraps up the video. If you're new here, a subscribe would be awesome. A like would be just as awesome. I'd love to have a community built up around reading. That would be awesome. Stay tuned for my next video, because that's when I'll be discussing how my editing went. So obviously I'll have to be going through it myself. And if anybody is a new writer here and they want a little bit of advice of what I've been doing, comment down below. I'd be more than happy to help you. Maybe we can discuss it in the comments, or I'd be more than happy to make a video. So I'll leave a link for If It Bleeds down below, which consists of 4 stories, one of them being Mr. Harrigan. I have to recommend it. Read it, check it out, ebooks, hard books. Thank you again for watching. Have a great day and have some awesome reading. See you in the next video.